Hello everyone, my name is Enrique Cardona and welcome once again to Sonic Month, in which in this video I'm going to talk about the next movie about the Sonic the Hedgehog. And in this case, it's a franchise that we never thought it would be as big as it is in the big screen. After the first movie and after receiving a lot of praise from the critics and the fans alike, it was only a matter of time that the second movie will come out, which it came in 2002. And in this case, it was not only going to be more faithful to the source material, but it will be introducing more characters to the franchise. Two, in fact, in which I'm going to talk about in this video. So, without further ado, let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Once again, the director Jay Fowler is back to the screen, along with his other screen players, Pat Casey, Josh Miller, and this time, John Withington. The story that they created takes place after the events of Sonic 1, in which we see that Robotnik, played once again by Jim Carrey, is still trying to find a way to escape the mushroom planet that he got stranded in after he was beaten by Sonic in the first one. Using technology that he had from these old inventions, as well as using the hair spike that he had from Sonic, he creates this satellite which sends a massive energy wave that causes an entire boom through the entire universe. Not destroy it. It basically is like a big massive wave of energy or a big massive wave of sound which cuts the attention of some creatures. In this case, it cuts the attention of the Echidna. And one of the Echidnas is Knuckles the Echidna, played this time by Idris Elba. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I hear that Idris Elba was going to play Knuckles, I immediately say, what? And why? Because here's the thing, while I also hear the voice of Knuckles in the past, I usually associated like someone like very gruff but very dumb, or someone who is very young, almost the exact same age of Sonic. And Idris Elba is much older than the actor who plays Sonic, but let me tell you, when I hear him voicing this character, it's a completely different feel because he's actually a lot more, he gives the character a lot more of a gravitas, or at the very least more weight, because he's actually playing the character of Knuckles like possibly like the guy in Sonic X. Like the way that Knuckles is in Sonic X is that he's a very minded businessman or a very serious guy, a serious echidna who has one mission and one mission only: to recover the Master Emerald. I'm gonna get into the Master Emerald later, but for now, we see that Knuckles comes across Robotnik, in which they start to form an alliance, and that's the beginning of the movie. Now, when it comes to Sonic, after the months he's spent, or at the very least the years he's spent alone, and now that he's living with the Wachowskis, now we see that Sonic is using his powers to be a superhero, or at the very least, a superhero that's still prone to mistakes. Like, he tries to do the nicest things, like trying to help people, stop bad guys like robbers and thieves, but he kind of screws around. He still uses the jokes as a way to cope as well, but he's still struggling with the how to be a hero, which, let's be honest, is nothing. Is not that Sonic has never been a hero. It's just he never actually employed those skills in the past, even when he was living on the planet, because he was trying to preserve his own secrecy. But now that most of the people in the world, or at the very least the people in the Green Hills, know about his existence, he felt like it's time for him to be an active guy, an active superhero that people will see and try to do their best to encourage. And he's going to try to do his best to save people's lives, which I find it noble, but he kind of screws around and he still makes jokes when it's at least appropriate at the time, but on it, then again, that's the spirit of Sonic. He is a playful character, but he still is prone to make mistakes, which is possible for any character. Characters who don't make mistakes are boring characters, so that's the important thing to note it. But let's go back a little bit to Green Hills. When Sonic is left all alone in the house because the Wachowskis are attending the wedding of Maddie's sister, which is she's married to a guy named, I think, Randall Handel, played by Shamar Moore from Criminal Minds, is basically going to be a weekend on Hawaii. So they have to go there and they leave Sonic along with their dog all alone, which is probably not a good idea considering that Sonic is kind of like a kid who likes to go around all over the place and do all those kid stuff. They're trying to do nasty stuff, or well, not nasty stuff, like very playful stuff, but it's still making a disorder of or out of the place. But yeah, basically, we don't see them very much in the movie, but they're still there, just to remind that they're still important characters. I will get to the scenes that they are in Hawaii, but for now, let's focus on what happens afterwards. After they leave Sonic alone in the house, we see that Miles Prower, aka Tails, played by Colleen Oshagnisi, is once again paying off to the post-credit scene that we saw in the last movie, which was he was finding Sonic in Green Hills. So he comes across a police car in which he stalls, probably from Wade. I'm gonna get to Wade later, but let's say that after Sonic is all alone, we see that Dr. Eggman is once again hunting for him, and he stumbles upon the house and bringing Knuckles with him, and ensues a fight that is basically one-sided as Knuckles is pummeling Sonic to the ground. And judging by his look, he looks like he wants revenge against the Hedgehog. But it's not in the way you think. And this brings us to the backstory that he's bringing us. So, in this case, Knuckles is hunting down Sonic because not only does he know that he is one of the kids that Longclaw was taking care of, but also because he knows that he is the key to the Master Emerald, the one giant diamond that we saw in this movie. But I'm going to get to the Master Emerald again later. I'm sorry I'm fine saying this a lot. But yeah, basically, Knuckles is hunting down for the Master Emerald and for Sonic, which immediately causes the attention of Tails, which saves Sonic's life. And the two of them decide to run away from Knuckles and Dr. Eggman, and they're trying to find a way to go and escape from those two. We see that Agent Stone is back, once again played by, I hope I pronounce his name well, Lee Mashdub, in which he's once again playing the character of Agent Stone, which he's trying to help Dr. Robotnik to get Sonic and to catch Sonic. And they form an alliance with Knuckles in order to capture him as well as the Master Emerald, which Dr. Eggman is very, very aware and very, very keen to know what it is. And thanks to some map that Sonic had at the beginning of the first movie, we know now that it had a message from Longclaw. Now, by the way, Longclaw is played by Donna J. Fulks, so that's good to know. And it's important to mention who is playing this character. But basically, Longclaw is explaining that the Master Emerald is the key for supreme power, for all power that you can construct with your mind. If you are a Sonic fan, you know what this might lead up to. But basically, while they were listening to this message, both Sonic, Tails, and Wade, played once again by Adam Pally, are basically trying to figure out what to do. So Sonic decides to embark into the journey in which it leads him to the Master Emerald. So he takes Tails to the ride, and while they're doing that, Wade is trying to get answers from Agent Stone, who is now working on a coffee shop. It's kind of hilarious. And we see that Agent Stone has been missing Dr. Robotnik for a long time, almost to unbelievable levels. Like, he is obsessed, or at the very least in love with Dr. Robotnik, which is saying something. So we see Tails and Sonic going into an adventure which leads them to Siberia, in which in a very funny scene, the two of them not only are bonding but also trying to escape all these Siberian guys, these brawlers and psychopaths who are challenging Sonic to a fight, or at the very least to a dance fight. And it's one of the most hilarious things that they gain the respect from those people at that cabin. But one of the things that I like about this movie is that it allows Sonic to interact with Tails and to see their friendship blooming. Keep in mind that Sonic and Tails are one of the best partners. Basically, Tails is like the Robin of Sonic's Batman. And ironically, Sonic calls himself Blue Justice, which I found hilarious since he's trying to mimic the whole Batman thing. Although not in a brooding way, more in a jokey way. It's kind of like Spider-Man and Batman at the same time. But going back to him and Tails, it's good to see that Sonic is actually being friendly with a guy that he never thought he would have a friendship with, especially when they are basically also anthropomorphic animals. Now, Tails is like a fox who has the power to fly with his two tails, as well as he's a genius. And one of the things that they brought in this movie is that Tails caught on into the signal that Dr. Robotnik sent and basically caught the attention of Tails, which led him to go to the Earth in search for Sonic. And the fact that I see Tails showing signs of shininess because he doesn't know what to do. Sometimes he's a genius in a lot of technological things, but he doesn't know how to go on adventures or to have friendship. All his life has been absent-minded, or at the very least absent or isolated from other people because of his genius. And that's something that Sonic can see and empathize with. After all, he's also a hedgehog who has been alone all his life, and now he sees another character who's also been alone all his life. And Sonic, instead of making jokes or anything, he actually sympathized with Tails, creating the friendship that we all come to know and love for years. And that's a good thing. It shows Sonic that he has more than one emotion, and it shows that he's not as ignorant of other people's feelings as many people have portrayed him to. I should also mention that there are scenes in which we see Tom and Maddie Wachowski, played once again by James Marsden and Tika Sumpter, being on Hawaii along with, once again, Random Hattie as well as Rachel, in which they're still trying to get along with each other. Basically, Tom is trying to show himself to be this kind guy, and then he sees Randall, who's very tough and very masculine, that it kind of creates some awkward tension. I will say this, some of those scenes are not exactly the best and not one of those things that many people go to see in a Sonic movie. I just feel that it's fair to point out, and it's fair to point out that most people have problems with those scenes because it kind of derails from the action and the characters. But again, I think that Tom and Maddie are still important characters for Sonic, and it's important not to not dismiss them. It's important not to dismiss them, please. So once again, Sonic is looking for the Master Emerald. They come to a cave in which they find a map in which Sonic and Tails can see is the key to go and find the Master Emerald. In which, in that moment, Dr. Eggman and Knuckles find them, and it ensues a very fun chase scene in which we see Sonic skateboarding, which I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy, and seeing him evading all these robots that Dr. Eggman created. By the way, there is a joke that Sonic made about Dr. Eggman's new look when he's bald and with the big mustache. It's like Professor Xavier portraying him as Dr. Monopoly Man. It's unbelievable, but it's actually kind of true. But yeah, in the end, we see that Knuckles is still trying to find Sonic, and then we see his origin story, that he was in the Echidna tribe, and his father, who is one of the Echidnas, was trying to find the Master Emerald, and Knuckles never saw him again. Now, important to mention that the echidnas and the big owls, the guardian gals that we saw, and they are part of Longclaw's history, were fighting for many years looking for the Master Emerald. Now, the Master Emerald in this story, they give it a backstory in which it was created by using chaos energy, in which they can use to not only create a lot of things but also destroy. It's basically the Infinity Stones of the Sonic universe, only all of them are created into one big emerald. And the big owls, the guardian gals, they took the Master Emerald from the Echidnas, which caused the war. And in these cases, where the reason I mention this backstory is because this story could have been easily portraying Sonic as a vengeful character, because it would have given him a reason to hate Knuckles, but he doesn't. Now, I know a lot of people will probably find this problematic because the Echidnas were the sole reason why Longclaw was presumed dead, or at the very least, we saw that she was taken by the Echidnas. And Knuckles, in his way, he never saw his father again. Now, I don't know what the other movies will put in the future. I don't know if Longclaw she's going to be alive, or if the father of Knuckles is still alive as well. But the important thing is that Sonic could have seen Knuckles as an enemy in the same way as Dr. Robotnik, who's trying to harm all that he loves, but then realizes that Knuckles, just like Tails, is also lost, and he doesn't know what to do. And this could have easily given a free card for Sonic to hate Knuckles. After all, he has all the reason. He lost Longclaw because of the Guinness. But he doesn't. He doesn't hate Knuckles for what happened. He doesn't blame him for what happened to Longclaw. And that's one of the most important parts about this story. Is Sonic is trying to make friends, not enemies. And he sees Knuckles as also a lost boy. Now, all this leads to Dr. Robotnik taking advantage of the situation, injures Tails, and takes the map away from Sonic. And in this case, Knuckles started getting conflicted about his position, because he thought that Sonic was going to attack him and caught him by surprise. But he starts looking at the situation, but still firm on his beliefs and still marching forward to find the Master Emerald. All leads to an avalanche in which we see Sonic trying to get away from it along with Tails, and we see that Sonic is calling Tom Wachowski in order to create a portal for him using one of the rings that he has, because Sonic lost all of the rings in Siberia. But basically, we see that Sonic is being saved, transported to Hawaii, which coincidentally is the one place where all the US government is looking for Sonic. So they chase him and capture him, which all leads to the reveal that Randall, the guy that Rachel was marrying, was an agent undercover. In, as the Commander Walters, played by Tom Butler, calls it, Operation Catfish. Oh my god. Literally, the name is hilarious. And the reaction of Rachel, played by Natasha Rothwell, is priceless because she's been gaslighted by this organization. By the way, Commander Walters created this organization from the Sonic universe called Guardian Units of Nations, aka GUN. Yeah, even Maddie says, what kind of acronym is that? Like, who calls that Units of Nations called GUN? It's literally like an invitation for war. But basically, yes, Commander Walters creates this division in order to capture all the alien extraterrestrial beings, and he captures Tails, Sonic, in order to, well, you know what you figure, to capture them and experiment on them, which prompts to Maddie and Rachel to save Sonic, as well as Tom, who was captured by the gun soldiers, all leading to a very funny scene in which Rachel is trying to confront not only Randall but also Commander Walters. The guy might be a seasoned soldier and commander, but he's still an idiot. And he calls Rachel Bridezilla like, oh my god, you are just asking for an ass whooping. But yeah, basically Knuckles and Dr. Robotnik open the portal, or at the very least, open the some sort of activate something using the map, in which it transports them to this giant temple who is hidden on the water. It's kind of hilarious. It's kind of weird to say it out loud, but basically, it's part of the Sonic universe. So basically, Sonic, seeing that he needs to stop Knuckles and Dr. Robotnik, he runs fast to the place, to the temple, which, by the way, may I remind you, is on the ocean. And we all know that Sonic and ocean don't mix. But in a very courageous way, he still runs at the speed of light in order to catch them up. So basically, we see Dr. Robotnik and Knuckles going all sorts of booby traps, as well as Sonic, in which is very hilarious. And wouldn't be surprised if they made it into a video game. It's kind of like Indiana Jones-esque in order to find this treasure. It all had Indiana Jones vibes, which I deeply appreciated. But yeah, basically, after all three find the Master Emerald, it ensues a fight between Sonic and Knuckles. It was not only very kick-ass, but the effects on the characters were very great and believable. You feel the speed and force that they are using on those characters. But yeah, basically, taking advantage of the situation and the distraction, Dr. Eggman takes the Master Emerald and fuses it with it in order to create himself into a very powerful being, gaslighting or betraying basically Knuckles, leave them to death on the temple, which is getting flooded by water. And then we see that Knuckles is being saved by Sonic, and the two of them decide to have the heart-to-heart moment, which I deeply appreciate. And we see that Sonic and Knuckles are now friends, which also leads to Tails coming along in the crop duster, in the giant crop duster plane that we see in all Sonic media. Tails always flies that kind of thing, and I deeply appreciated that. And he upgraded that crop duster with some nifty weapons, so I really enjoy it. And then we see Dr. Robotnik along with Agent Stone creating, in my opinion, one of the biggest giant Dr. Eggman robots he has ever created. Seriously, this thing is like a villain from a Power Ranger show, or a Super Sentai one if you want to be specific. But yeah, he creates a giant Robotnik robot complete with mustache and everything, using the Master Emerald and adapting all the metals, including weapons and all sorts of guns, into said robots. So this is very unique and very fun. It is definitely more in the spirit of the Sonic characters. And that's good to see. And it's good to see that Dr. Eggman is not screwing around and he's trying to get this hedgehog. And we see that Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are working together in order to stop Robotnik. And it really, really shines. This is probably one of my favorite action scenes I ever seen. Seeing all three of these anthropomorphic animals that we saw in video games and in media working together, kind of similar to Sonic Heroes, and fighting to stop Robotnik from doing whatever he's doing to conquer the world and the multiverse and the universe. Basically, that's what Dr. Robotnik's mission is, to conquer everything, and basically just gloat about it. But in the end, we all know that Sonic and his team was going to get the upper hand, and they did, which leads us to Sonic becoming Super Sonic, or as I like to call it, Super Saiyan Sonic. And boy, was it a delight to see this character becoming this Super Saiyan. And he doesn't screw around. When he has the powers, he defeats Dr. Robotnik in a swift, using the powers in order to stop him and his giant robot. And I really, really enjoy it. I cannot do justice with just my words. You have to see that scene. Is incredible. Hell, see the whole movie for all that matters. But yeah, in the end, Sonic stops Robotnik again, the Robotnik is presumed dead. We all know that's not true. And once again, Sonic acquires more people, Tails and Knuckles, which they decide to form a team in order to protect not only Green Hills and the entire planet, but also to protect the Master Emerald. And we see that Sonic has a bigger family than he had before, and that's good to know. And in the end, we see in the post-credit scene that Commander Walters talks to a soldier in which they tell him that another subject has escaped, a subject that Commander Walters calls Project Shadow. If you know what that means and you saw the post-credit scene, you know that what this all leads up to. Hell, I'm gonna talk about it in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that review. But yeah, that was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. In my opinion, is one of my favorite Sonic movies, and it's only gonna get better from here. Now, before we get to the third movie, we also had to go to the show of Knuckles, which I'm going to talk about next week. But the important thing is that this movie really rocks, advancing all the stories from before, developing Sonic as well as his other characters in a more organic way, seeing Tails and Sonic interact, seeing Sonic and Knuckles interact, seeing all three of them together interacting with one another is amazing. And you know what? Colleen Oshagnisi, the actress who plays Tails, gets credited in this movie, which is unbelievable. Keep in mind, voiceover actors are not as credited as before, or they weren't credited before that they are now. But I'm now seeing actors like Tara Strong in Loki, Grey Delisle in WandaVision, and all sorts of other voiceover actors getting the recognition that, let's face it, they didn't have before. Hell, an entire reviewer dedicated his entire channel to talk about voiceover actors. So it's good to see that Colleen is getting recognition for her contributions as Tails, and it's good to see that she got a prominent role in a blockbuster movie. That's unheard of. So I deeply appreciate it. It's also good to hear Idris Elba as Knuckles. He definitely gave the character a much needed weight and funny improvisation. And it's good to hear Idris Elba just voicing this character. And Ben Schwartz as Sonic, what can I say? He's my favorite character. And honestly, Ben Schwartz does Sonic justice the way that we never saw it before. So I deeply like that. And I hope to see Ben Schwartz in Sonic media and other forms of movies any day, anytime. So yeah, please do yourselves a favor. Watch this movie. It really is good. It definitely improves upon the first movie. So next week, as I said before, it's time to talk about Knuckles and his TV show. Would it be good? Would it be bad? Well, stay tuned as I talk about it. So I've been Enrique, and I'll see you next time. Peace.